We're good. We're enjoying the throwback.
Exactly.
Music, yeah. So that's pretty awesome.
I'm going to take a request from every one of you before the news review is over. And we'll play them later on in the show. So think of your favorite throwback
Can I say it
song.
Now?
Okay, you're ready.
Oh, you've heard me say that, but by Daddy Lumba. Legendary Daddy Lumba.
Yeah, it's like a worship song, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, so Raymond has come early to the party. But
the rest of you?
I know the song that I want, but I don't know who sang it.
Do the first line.
Me year that day, Samba, Fufra Baya. But I don't know.
Sing it for you.
It's okay.
But I don't
We can
know
do
who
an
sang
acapella
it.
if you come.
I know.
No one
right?
wants to sing for anyone.
Exactly.
Okay,
Amazing.
let's start.
All right, let's go, guys. And the finder is where we start. So the Daily Heritage.
Let's do the Daily Heritage. Judicial Service goes paperless. Bad road killing pregnant women at Kotochi. GCB blows 200,000 Ghana cedis on games. Speaker not involved in disposal of parliamentary vehicles, and Jan loses extortion case against Kwabla, 3 others.
Okay, on the front page of the Daybreak, times are hard, and that's the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union to the government. Tema fishermen demonstrate over unpaid MPS compensation, and Google regrets and apologizes for that $1 to 22 Ghana cedi exchange rate glitch that was showing on a couple of days ago.
Causing fear and panic. We can't charge them.
No, you know, we are the third country that this happened to.
Oh, I
It happened
see.
to Nigeria as well, and Pakistan.
Yeah, it looks like those countries it was possible. But
Go ahead, Raymond.
now, the Ghanaian Times is reporting this morning at the African Climate Week 2019, let's fight climate change in Africa. This is the President of the Republic of Ghana speaking. There's one about a sort of 3 Ghanaian Times journalists, the cops, they've been interdicted. And there's an apology for the Interior Minister on the front page too. 3 billion Eurobond, vote of confidence in economy. This is from the Information Minister, obviously to the part of the country we know.
The Daily Statesman newspaper, 5,000 NABCO trainees get permanent jobs. CAM returns to Chiriponi. Rexec rallies feuding factions for dialogue. Japan's car makers eye Ghana. Toyota, Suzuki and CFAO explore joint venture.
On the front page of the Daily Guide, Ghana goes for French. That's Shelley Ayoko-Bochwe speaking about adopting French as a second language here in Ghana. Auditor General hot over 8 million Ghana cedi car deal. NPP NDC clash on cedi $3 billion Eurobond shows confidence in the economy, and slain NDC vigilantes family quits party.
Now, the New Crusader Guide is reporting this morning, build first-class judiciary. President urges CJ as he launches the e-justice project. Now, IMF passes Ghana's final review, Ghana to declare French as second language. And when you said it, Dennis said, even the English, we are not seeing top.
No, but that was my
Well,
initial.
if we use expressions
initial
like
thought as well.
seeing top.
Yeah, we are not seeing
on behalf of
please
Raymond.
It's a convenient way of putting the blame.
Yep.
The Chronicle newspaper, NDC is not worth dying for, says Medet Abdelwasiu's family. We have no solutions. Mahama will provide them. IGP interdicts cops over assault on Times reporters, and Asamoah Gyan's lover have done the story, acquitted and discharged.
And the Daily Graphic is reporting that southern Ghana to record more rains this year than it did within the same period last year, which of course then begs the question, are we ready for the rains that will come this year? On the front page of the Daily Graphic, e-justice launched. President demands speedy trials. 3 policemen interdicted over the assault of 3 Ghanaian Times journalists. SNIT's calculation of benefits flawed. That's according to a TUC report. And that story about police deploying body cameras in May, which we will be bringing to you in a little bit.
Now, the Business Finder is the very last paper I have before me. CD rebounds ahead of Eurobond proceeds and others. This according to the Finance Minister, and Ghana's economic outlook best in 5 years. There's one on Cocobot signing some $300 million loan to refinance bills. Those are on the front page of the Business Finder.
Malik, we are finally seeing some action on the assault of the 3 Ghanaian Time journalists.
Yes, better late than never. The Inspector General of Police has ordered the interdiction of the 3 police officers who were reported to have assaulted the Ghanaian Times reporters. The IGP says that these guys should be interdicted, and they are in the persons of Inspector Isaac Opari from the Accra Ministries Division of the Ghana Police Service, Sergeant Ebenezer Akrufi of the Accra Regional Police Headquarters, and Lance Corporal Evans Kofi in team. of the Accra Police Visibility Unit. These are the 3 officers that, according to a statement which was signed and issued by David Eklu, who we know speaks for the Ghana Police Service, says that these persons should be interdicted for their roles in the assault of these journalists. You know that calls have been made for this action to be taken because immediately a police officer was assaulted. The police quickly arrested the 2 persons, the driver and his mate, brought them before court. They were remanded, charges were slapped on them, and yet this incident which actually preceded that one, there was no action in that front. And that appeared to chime perfectly with what has been happening in the past, than when police officers are assaulted, action is taken, or when police officers are affected by anything, action is taken by the police. When it is ordinary citizens who are the subject of brutalities by the police, then you find that the police are unwilling or
they do interdiction, they do investigation. Then after interdiction investigation, they'll say that they are probing further.
Which of these
then
processes?
They'll refer to a different level from local. They say, I've elevated the case to another level from PIPs. Then they'll go through all the corners. They later can't say they can't find the people again.
So the IGP says that the Motor Traffic Unit, that's MTTU, should be responsible for some of the investigations. The Police Professional and Standards Bureau should also take some of the investigations. Again, questions are being asked. Why are these people not being arrested and bundled into jail as what has happened, and they are being brought to court? Why are we asking for, because assault is assault and it's the same. Why is it that in one case we are asking for investigations and asking professional bodies to investigate them, in another case the people have been brought before court?
Well, maybe there's no video to support the other case.
Police versus the rest of us.
Maybe there's no video to support the other case. If I can play the devil's advocate.
Whenever it comes to that, they can't find evidence.
Okay, but let's stay with the subject anymore, because the Interior Minister has apologized.
Yes, Mr. Ambrose Derry has rendered an unqualified apology to the mass media and journalists for attacks that have gone on in the past few weeks. Now, he was speaking to journalists after addressing the opening session of the 2018 Performance Review Meeting of agencies under the Ministry of Interior. And he said, and I quote, "I want to say on behalf of the Interior Ministry, and for that matter, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, that we apologize unreservedly for what my sector agencies have done to journalists. It is not in our spirit to attack journalists, because we should be pushing the frontiers of free expression." He continues to say the media have helped the security agencies to protect lives by asking the relevant questions, and this is good for us all. We are partners. So if we're seen to be fighting each other, the criminals will start rejoicing because they will have a field day to operate. Now, speaking to the security agencies, he asked them to be professional in the discharge of their duty so that they can win back the confidence of the citizens. He also said, interestingly, that there's been an improvement in the 2018 performances by the security agencies over that of 2017.
And still with the police?
Yes, and so in other news, police are going to start deploying body cameras in May. 3,000 pieces have been ordered. They're expecting the first batch of 300 pieces this April. So what the body cameras are going to do, well, in the first place, they're small lens devices. They're worn on an officer's chest. They capture images. They have microphones, and so they record sounds, and then they also have internal storage for data or footage for later review and analysis. What it's going to do is that it's going to cross out the account of an eyewitness or a third party, because everything that happens to or happens because of the police officer will be recorded by the body cam. He has warned the police that when these body cams come, they shouldn't go out on duty and come back and say the thing was off, it wasn't working, it wasn't this, it wasn't that. They will be penalized if they exhibit that kind of behavior. Interestingly, it cost the US over $58 million when they started this body cam issue, when there was a lot of black crime from police officers during the Obama era. So I'm wondering how much it's going to cost us as well.
Of course, we need to know how many.
Well, there's 3,000. There's 3,000.
Of course, how many officers that we have compared to the United States and the quality of cameras that are being used. But those details, I'm sure, will come.
The other parts that are symptomatic of our procurement process. Anyway.
Unfortunate. Raymond, since you are speaking, the minority speculation is to be ignored, according to
government, the information minister, to be specific. So yesterday, you did know that around 10 a.m., the ranking member on the Finance Committee of Parliament, former Deputy Minister of Finance, Kessel Atuforsen, outlined what he considered the real state of the economy, especially to the CD. he gave the reasons that we've espoused here before, which he says are going to continue. In fact, he projected a very bleak future for the city going into the future. In fact, he says and quoted 4 different sources, including HSBC, which has been projected that the city by the end of the year will go beyond 6 cities anyway. So regardless of what we are doing in the interim to stem the tide, we might not be successful the way it ought to be. He also talked about how the investors are not so confident in the Ghanaian economy now, mindful of the changes in the rates, which is affecting them. And when he was asked about the Euro bond and its oversubscription, he laughed it off and said, well, when we talk about impact on CD, we are talking about the CD-denominated bonds. And that's different from the Euro bond, which is in dollars. So the CD-denominated bonds is because finally you have to convert your money back to dollars and take it out. Because it's in CDs, whichever impact the current policy will have on it, the depreciation is going to make it worse. So that's why the local investors, the investors who are investing in the local bonds, as the city-denominated bonds, are the ones who are complaining, and has nothing to do with the Euro bond and its over subscription in this case. So the further explanation you also gave to what they think should be done. In fact, there are some 5 questions on the currency to the finance minister, to the vice president. I mean, this was around the same time that we also heard that the vice president will go to do his own
town hall meeting.
Yes, on the 4th or so of the
3rd of April.
3rd of April, anyway. So that is also what he gave. 5 questions to the vice president. Then he also asked an important question to do with what really is going to happen going forward. What is government's silver bullet to deal with the problem? He doesn't think that the government has any so far, and he's saying that government has been talking about changing the structure of the economy for a very long time. He wants to see evidence of that happening. Now, later on in the day, the Information Ministry responded. The Information Ministry asked Ghanaians to look to the oversubscription of the Eurobond to tell them the bigger story that, well, the investors out there are still impressed with the Ghanaian development so far. The Information Ministry also made clear that the IMF is currently reviewing our very last review, and we understand that review is also virtually done. He also made the point that if you compare what has been happening with what happened prior to 2016, we surely would know that this government has done a lot, not with the CD alone, but with every single important fundamental of the economy.
Malik, do you remember what the NPP said when the NDC said, then in power, that the oversubscription of the Eurobond means there's a lot of confidence in the Ghanaian system?
They always don't believe it unless it is them.
because the response that came specifically was that it is because our rates are high compared to other parts of the world. Mm-hmm. And now our rates for the 7-year bond are 7.875%.
And in fact, at the time, our rates were high. I mean,
our rates were higher than
one
this.
One of the instances we went for Eurobond at the same time that other African countries went, and we appeared to give the highest rate than others.
Our rates are a bit lower now, but they're still quite on the high side because countries like Portugal at the time, I remember, went for like 0.9%. And we are still doing 7.875% for 7 years, which is the lowest rate here.
It's interesting you make the point about whether or not subscription is an important indicator.
Yeah, because it can be argued that it is because our rates are high that people want more money, that they oversubscribe. And when we are changing the money back to dollars to pay back the investors, what then will be the impact on the Ghana cedi?
Even the tenor is a factor, whether it is 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, mm-hmm. is a factor.
For this one, the 12-year bond, the rate is 8.125. The 31-year bond is 8.95%. 31 years, interesting.
And we have done 10.75 before.
Yes, in the previous administration. Anyway, away from percentages and figures, bad roads are killing pregnant women.
Yes, this is happening at Kotochi. I was tempted to ask Enimwa to mention this one.
Why would you do that?
So Kotochi is in
Atimokwa
district in the central region, and the chief there is saying the people there are losing their pregnant women to bad road. The nearest hospital to them is one at Praso. Now the road between Kotochi and Praso, which is a 25-kilometer road, is so bad that a distance which is supposed to cost 4 cedis to travel on commercial vehicles, it's costing the people 8 Ghana cedis. Beyond that, the vehicles don't even want to go. So when pregnant women are in labor, sometimes they have to rely on motorbikes to convey these women to Praso, where they can go to hospital and have trained people help them deliver their babies. They want the government to raise money to help them construct this road, because last year alone, according to the chief, and I'm talking about Nana Kwabena Asamoah, last year alone, 3 women died on that road alone, going to Praso to go and give birth. And they said it's even worse when you consider the impact on the babies. Usually, even when the mothers survive, the babies don't make it because the road is so bad. So sometimes they can't get a vehicle when a woman is in labor and needs to go to Praso. And if when they get a vehicle, it is so rickety, or sometimes they have to use a motorbike. And they say this is not helping them as a community. They want urgent intervention by the government to construct the road. It's just a 25-kilometer road.
It's very, very worrying. And you think of community like Kotoche and Praso, you can imagine the amount of activity that can go on there. The potential, because
you say, as we speak, let me quote him, as we speak, all the farm produce such as plantain, cassava, and other perishables products are rotting in the farms because the vehicles have refused to ply.
Do you remember Justice Bedu's award-winning story about how produce gets it's rotten in villages because of the bad roads? I wonder he won the Thomson Reuters award for exactly.
So as we do planting for food and jobs, and there is general excitement about this, there is increase in production and all of that, it has to be possible for people to move their farm produce. Otherwise, they will produce, there's glut, and yet there are people in the towns and cities who can't get the food to buy, or they buy it at exorbitant prices, and yet the farmers can't get the worth of their sweat because they can't move their produce out of the farms.
Well, very, very eloquently said, Malik. Elimwa, 4-ton-a-ton fraudsters have been busted.
Yes, and what they've been doing is that they've been selling cars. Now, the Accra Regional Police Public Relations Officer, Efia Tenge, she's the one who's telling this story. Now, what happens is that, so you see a car on Ton-a-ton and you want to buy it, you make the connection with the buyer. So they'll give you a location, and this particular group was operating from somewhere on the Spintex Road. They'll give you a location. So you come to the location, they'll show you the car, then they'll say, oh, let's go inside the house to make the payments and all of that. So you go inside the house, meet the owner, make the payments, he'll give you car papers, and then you walk out. By the time you get to where the car was parked, the car is gone, and by the time you run back into the house, there's nobody there. They've done this on about 6 occasions, and they've been busted finally. So she's also urging that if this has happened to you, get in touch with the Teshi Divisional Police in Accra and report it, and also be wary when you're making such transactions. They also actually did one of these operations at a hospital. So they said the person who was selling it was sick. They went to the hospital, did the transaction in the hospital room and everything, but by the time the buyer came out, the car was gone. By the time he went back into the hospital, the seller was gone.
Who buys car like tomatoes?
No, but you see, we should be more careful about the impression we are giving ourselves, because Jumia is about to launch its IPO in New York. Yes, and the perception about the security of online trading websites, it could be affected by things like this. And so the security officials and the website administrators must be sure that they can vet these guys, so that's confidence in online trade, because that's the future.
This is the first Africa-based e-commerce company to list on the New York Stock Exchange.
It's huge news for us in Africa. And if things like this mess it up, because, ahead of it, you listen to the BBC, you read international websites, and all they are asking about are political risk and security of the items that are traded. So we should really take a look at this. It's very, very worrying. Anyway, the next story would be the IMF passing Ghana's final review.
And that's according to a new Crusading Guide, and it's actually reporting that sources close to the current conversation between the IMF leadership in the country and government officials in this country says that the sources are saying that they've concluded the final review of the Ghana's extended credit facility, bringing to an end that extended credit facility. Government has been talking about we end it in April, we end it within the periods that we went to the IMF for the $920 million extended credit facility in 2015. And you do recall that there's a lot of back and forth on that. This was before for policy credibility. And this was, of course, before we had gone to Senchi to go and develop homegrown solutions and make sure that we have some basis to go and proceed with this grouping. So over the period, there's been several reviews. This is the 7th and the 8th one in this particular case. There are concerns that the Crusading Guide is pointing out that the IMF is raising. It's talking about, one, the issue of rising debt. 2. Fast-tracking work on the Treasury single account, fiscal discipline ahead of 2020 elections, and balancing revenue and expenditure so as not to damage the economy. These, according to the Christian Guide, are the main issues the IMF is worried about when it comes to Ghana's economy currently. And again, let's be clear. I do not think, and I've been hearing this exit expression to make it look like Ghana is exiting the IMF. At best, the extended credit facility is coming to an end. Because, I mean, I'm not sure in this century a country like Ghana can be bold enough to exit the IMF under the various circumstances that we are talking about. Now, more beyond that is the fear by some people about the future of the country going beyond the IMF, because this state has been somewhat not so, I won't say irresponsible or indisciplined, but has not managed its affairs properly, mostly when it comes to being outside the remits of the IMF, which has affected our system in many forms. So we'll be hearing from the IMF finally, maybe today, how they conclude on this particular arrangement and what the future is for Ghana, what the risks are, and what the prospects will be going forward to.
Malik, let's go to Chiriponi.
Yeah, so there is calm in Chiriponi, and not just only Chiriponi, but also in Saboba and Yunyu. All of these communities are in the newly created Northeast region, which used to be part of the Northern region. We know that clashes have been going between Konkumbas and Chokosis in this area over a parcel of land. This has been a dispute which has been long-standing, but there is calm now. 3 people we know are dead, 1,860 people have been displaced, 40 households have been attacked, 20 communities were affected in all of this, but there is some calm in these areas, and some of the areas affected have been Gushegu, Karaga, and Yende. This is where some of the people, that internally displaced people, went to for protection and all of that. The police told us yesterday that the Regional Security Council for this region is meeting, and they are putting all the strategies and systems in place to ensure that there is this calm is sustained, and life and property will be protected.
Now, before we go online, this is news just coming in. Godfrey Dame, the Deputy Attorney General, is said to be Ghana government's rep on the new FIFA task force that will replace the Normalization Committee. So the Normalization Committee's work will be done by March 31. Replacing the Normalization Committee will be a new FIFA task force to superintend activities in Ghana, and Godfrey Dame will be the Ghana government representative. Now, the full constitution will be announced in the coming days. Joy Sports reported on Tuesday that the Normalization Committee will be taken over by this task force. The aim will be to ensure football administration is returned to a fully functioning football association by September 30. Following the Normalization Committee's inability to complete its work by March 31. That was their deadline. Okay, before I bring you the rest of the online stories, though, anyone, some education on upcoming rains?
Yes. So Mrs. Francisca Mate, she's the Deputy Director and Head of Research and Applied Meteorology, has said that, so what she says is that we're going to have normal rain from now until April, so pretty much until the end of this month. But April, May, June, the
you mean the end of next month?
End of March.
You said, the end of March. Is it to the end of April or the end of March?
The end of March. So from next month, which is April, so April, May, June, they're expecting above normal levels of rain as compared to last year. She also said that there's a high probability, apart from heavy rains, for strong winds and lightning, which could lead to localized floods. She's asking the public to monitor daily weather forecasts before leaving home, and that when it becomes necessary, people living in flood-prone areas should move to higher ground. So there you have it. Expect a lot more rain from next month until June, and stay safe, most importantly.
Yes, stay safe. That's very, very important. The online news review is brought to you by Zenith Bank, in your best interest, and Goyle Good Energy. Now, Goyle, your multiple CIMG award winner and the #1 OMC, salutes all Ghanaians as we celebrate our proud history and heritage. Your freedom comes with choosing Goyle, so just continue to patronize our quality fuel, superior lubricants, reliable gas supplies, and other trusted services, and you will feel the good energy. Together with you, our customers, we have supported the nation, and together with you, we will continue the partnership to grow our economy. Be a patriot every day. Buy Goyle. Let's grow Ghana. Goyle Good Energy. Goyle Yenara Yedia. Now, the Zenith Health Walk is back again. It's happening on Saturday, March 30, 2019, at the Zenith head office located on the Independence Avenue. Time is 6 a.m. Remember, it's the Zenith Health Walk. Save the date. See you there. Zenith Bank, in your best interest. Okay, so other online stories apart from the Normalization Committee story. Ghana gets $185 million from IMF after final review of fund program. And on the BBC.com, Christchurch mosque shootings, New Zealand to ban military-style weapons. Before we go, though, Raymond. And that was Raymond's request. It's a throwback edition of the Ghana Month on Joy. Or the Super Morning Show. This is Min said by Daddy Lumba. And Malik, who are we dedicating it to?
Yes, so this is Richard Kweku Boydu. He is at the Controller and Accountant General's Department for Cape Coast. This is from his sweetheart, Patience Kinney of the Ghana School of Law.
Okay, Raymond also wants to dedicate this to someone.
I have a question. Translated, what does it mean? I will never spoil.
Means say that. Yeah,
Yes,
I'll never be destroyed. Meaning. Ray, quickly, who are you dedicating it to?
To my family members. Yes.
Mention her name. What's that?
My family members.
Nuclear extended.
There are plenty. They extended. Yes.
Okay, BBC News at 7 comes up after this. This is the Super Morning Show.
Good energy powers the things that people do